Hi, my name's Gary. Welcome to this video looking at ways to combine impulse responses from different suppliers. We know from bitter experience that they rarely match up. We're going to end up with phase problems between them. And after I bought this Libra plugin last year, it got me to thinking, well, I would like to be able to perhaps at times combine impulses from, for example, my own hammer collection with my old red wires collection. And obviously that's not really going to be feasible unless I come up with some sort of fix. So it's not a perfect solution, but it's a kind of imperfect workaround that gets us pretty close. So what I've done here, just to give us a head start for a demo, we've got Helix Native running the Brit 2204 amp. I've got an EQ in front of it just to roll off some of the low end so I don't blow up the front end of the amp. Tiny bit of reverb and a tiny bit of compression on the end of that just to glue everything together. And then going into the Libra. So if you're familiar with this, you know how it works. If you don't, then you have 8 slots. You need to have at least 2 activated at any time. To activate one, you just click on it and it becomes live and the display will adjust accordingly. So what I've done here, I've got to start with 2 own hammer responses from the Friedman 6-pack. It doesn't matter so much what they are, it's just that they're from the same pack. So if I play a bit of that and switch between the 2 of them, you'll hear that they line up no problem. Maybe add a bit of resonance to that one. So I can match those 2 up, they sound fine. So let's then add in a third one, also from Own Hammer. Now I'm going to assume that Own Hammer and all the other makers of these fine impulse responses take the care and attention to make sure that everything we buy from them matches up, so we can mix and match impulses from one set to another. We can put that to the test now by bringing in the Marshall MR82 cab on C. So let's come down here to C. And then let's see how that fares. And sure enough, no problems whatsoever there. That blends into the next cab without an issue. So then let's add another one. So this is Basket Weave M25s from Red Wires from their vintage collection, the original ones, not the new ones, but the original set. And again, it doesn't matter particularly what the impulse is, it's a different one. So that's on slot D, so let's go to slot D, and then let's see what happens if we try and blend that to any of the others. And straight away we can hear we're going out of phase. So we have a delay control down here, so we can bring things back in line again. But it's kind of guesswork, and it's like, well, where do we go? We'll do it by ear, so maybe if that's out of phase there, let's try. Is that fixed? Is that fixed? Now, to me, I find that a little bit inelegant, a little bit clumsy, trying to find where I want to be to get that right. So I thought, well, what can we do to find perhaps a more accurate, more scientific way, a more thoughtful way to do that? So what I've done here is I've fetched in the actual impulses themselves. So this is the Own Hammer Friedman. It's one of the 2 that's in the impulse loader here in Libra. So that's the impulse there. That's the first transient, just there. I've not bothered bringing in any of the other own hammer ones because they seem to match. So I'm just bringing one in, and then I've brought in the basket weave. Excuse me, from red wires, which we can see is well out of line. Bear in mind we're zoomed in a long way there, but it's well out of line with the own hammer one. And I've also bought one in from 3 Sigma from their free pack that comes with their impulse loader, just so that we've got a third one to play with. So since time travel hasn't been invented just yet in terms of moving forward in time, we're going to have to shift things back. So we want to be picking the one that's the furthest back where it starts, which lucky for us is the own hammer. So if I take the snapping off and come through to here, so that's more or less the peak of that first transient. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a marker in there. Let's just call that transient for now. So we've got a marker. And I want to shift these to be in line with that same transient spot. So if we take this one, let's move it along. So we're going to say, as we zoom in perhaps a little bit further. So I'm looking to line up with the transient when it starts to fall away. So I'm going to say about there. And then the same with this one here. So we've got an odd start on that one, which I'm going to ignore. We'll come in and use this main, what looks like the main transient here. So right at the top of the transient, probably about there. So that's where we want to shift them. So we want to know where to move them in time. Now, I've got this timeline set up for minutes. This part of it here is set up for minutes and seconds and milliseconds. So we've got a reading there of 1 millisecond, but that's not entirely true because 1 millisecond is actually back down. If I click down here, we can see where it changes there. If I come up here, it's fine where 2 milliseconds changes, just about there. So it's not ideal, and I've not found, certainly within Reaper, a way to get more accurate than that. It's no good looking at video going to frames because there are more milliseconds than there are frames. So let's hedge our bets a little bit. So let's find where this changes over from 1 to 2. So it changes there. So let's put a marker in there and call that 2 milliseconds. And likewise, let's go back here and let's change from 0 to 1. So just clicking down in small increments till we find where we've got to change. Maybe I need to go a bit further than that. Okay, so we've got a change there. Let's go and zoom in. There. So we'll say that's our 1 millisecond marker. So now we have 1 millisecond and 2 milliseconds. So that gives us a bit more of a clue now. So if we're looking at this basket weave, we want it to start, the actual impulse to start there. So you could, if you wanted to, you could get yourself a ruler and measure up at the top here and see, get an absolute exact readout. But I'm going to say that I imagine that's about half there. So that would be 1.5 milliseconds. So I'm going to call that 1.6. And likewise for this one here, I'm going to say that's a little bit under half. I'm going to say that's 1.4. So if we go back to Libra, so this we said was 1.6. And the 3 Sigma IR is actually up here, so I'm going to put that in as 1.4. We'll turn that on and have a listen in a minute. So let's check that again now. So we go from the red wires impulse, which was out of phase previously, and we've now taken our measurement, our guess, as being 1.6 milliseconds. Let's go back up to where we were playing up here, and let's have a listen. And sure enough, we have a seamless transformation between one and the other. Let's bring in the impulsive, the 3 sigma, which is on, where we go, it's on to E. And let's try blending that. And there you go, that seems to work okay. As I say, it's not a perfect solution, but it takes some of the guesswork out, and I think ultimately it's a quicker way of doing things. Now, obviously, now that's in, these are in and in time, using Libra or some of the other impulse loaders, we can export that, we can save that out, and then use that, a blend of cabinets on just one IR slot inside of a Helix. Maybe make a second one that's got a mid boost on it. So you bring in a cabinet that's got a mid boost and up the level a little bit. And then you've got one for, let's say, up the level, say 3 dB, and then you've got a variation for solos, etc. Or just use the single one with the blended cabs and save a little bit of DSP. But there you go, that's a method of doing it. Perhaps people have other methods, but for me it takes away some of the guesswork. And I just find it, if I'm dealing with impulse responses, I can very, very quickly find that I get ear fatigue and I start going a bit gaga just looking at lists and lists of speaker cabinets. So it kind of works for me. While we're in here as well, perhaps show you, just in case you've not fathomed it out yet, as it's for me it certainly wasn't obvious, how to save presets and banks. So what I can do is add a preset here, then give it a name. So if you click on that E, so let's call this 5 cabs. Remembering that you can't use the space bar, otherwise it starts your DAW. So we'll call that, edit that again, and we'll call that 5 cabs. And then we can save that here. So let's call that 5_ cabs. Okay, and that's now saved. And you can pull up any of the banks that we've created thereafter, and whatever was in them is going to turn up. So let's check that all worked, and sure enough, 5 cabs, it's there. So if you found this useful, please consider to like and subscribe. In the meantime, good luck with your productions, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.